Welcome to Outrage Science Bites, where we explore the science behind outrage and polarization in bite-sized episodes. I'm your host, David Beckmeyer, and this week we're diving into technology outrage, how the very systems we depend on for information can manipulate what we see and how we feel. In today's episode, we'll explore how social media algorithms amplify outrage-inducing content and ask the big question, what is social media doing to us? Is it harmful? We've all experienced it, scrolling through our feeds, and there it is, another post that stirs us up, makes us angry, or reinforces the idea that the world is falling apart. It's not random. The algorithms behind these platforms are specifically designed to capture our attention, and outrage is one of the most powerful ways to do that. So, what exactly are these algorithms prioritizing? Is it intentional, and what's the impact on our mental health and society as a whole? To kick things off, let's hear from Tobias Rose Stockwell, a writer and researcher who studies how media and technology affect our behavior. Tobias explains how social media companies accidentally created products that drive outrage and extreme content.
This was not, malevolent actors. It was not Zuckerberg and Dorsey, scheming like Mr. Burns and trying to get people angry for the sake of profit. It was really, kind of they stumbled into this quite on accident. They built a few really key products that fundamentally shifted the way we consume information online. And there's these natural reservoirs of attention that come from outrage porn, from a disposition towards the extreme, the incendiary. And if you build an algorithm that rank orders things for attention, then we will naturally gravitate towards that kind of content.
The creators of these platforms didn't set out to divide us, but by designing systems that optimize for attention, they tapped into a core part of our psychology. Studies show that we're more likely to engage with emotionally charged content, and outrage, especially moral outrage, keeps us glued to our screens. A 2021 study from Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that posts containing moral, emotional language, words that evoke anger, disgust, or fear, are shared nearly twice as much as posts without these triggers. In other words, social media platforms are amplifying the content most likely to outrage us. This kind of content generates more clicks, shares, and time spent online. It's great for keeping users engaged, but is it great for us? Research suggests the answer may be no. Studies have consistently shown that prolonged social media use can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and depression. A landmark 2018 study by researchers at the University of Pennsylvania found that limiting social media use to 30 minutes per day significantly reduced feelings of loneliness and depression, particularly in young adults. So, while social media algorithms are good at capturing attention, they're also contributing to a growing body of evidence that suggests real mental health harms. But what about the broader societal impact? How do these algorithms shape our views, politics, and the way we engage with the world? For that, we turn to Jonathan Stray, a computational journalist and researcher. He argues that simply releasing the algorithms isn't enough to solve the problem.
The effect of social media is always an interaction between the algorithm and the people, which is why just releasing the algorithm is not super interesting. The type of transparency that is most forward-looking, in my view, is how do you get research collaborations between independent researchers and platforms. And a lot of people think about that in terms of data access. I think about that in terms of experiments. And this is why most of the things that we care about in social media are, what is this platform doing to us? And that is an effect about causes. And to get at causes, you have to run an experiment. So platforms, as readers probably know, run thousands of experiments all the time. They're glorified A/B tests, right? The problem is they're not doing science experiments. They're doing product development experiments. And what I mean by that is if you do a science experiment and you publish the results openly in a scientific journal, there's very strict ethics about human experimentation. And there have been some scandals, including the emotional contagion study in 2014, where researchers at Facebook tried to figure out, if I show you happy things from your friends, do you post happier things? If I show you sad things, do you post sad things? So the answer is yes. That seems to me to be an important scientific result, but of course they didn't ask anybody before making changes. So for better or worse, there's these we've got this double standard, which says, if you're just a company doing product development, you get to do whatever you want. It's all covered in the terms of service, which says they can change their feed and watch what happens. It's literally daily they'll experiment. But if you want to do science, by which I mean publish in a peer-reviewed journal, the standards are much higher. It's much harder to do. So what this means is platforms have mostly not investigated the questions that we might most want to investigate, because even if they found out what the answer was, A, they may not want to know it for liability reasons, and B, they can't publish it because of the rules around human subjects and consent. So in order to square that circle, we need some sort of process where external researchers can come in and work with them to do experiments under the ethics of human subjects research and science.
So transparency alone won't fix the issue. We need more collaboration between researchers and platforms to truly understand how these algorithms are impacting us and whether we can change the way they operate for the better. This aligns with another important study from 2020 by the Center for Humane Technology, which highlighted how the combination of algorithmic feeds and content recommendation systems has led to heightened political polarization, contributing to what researchers call outrage spirals. These spirals occur when users are constantly exposed to content that reinforces their existing beliefs and emotions, creating echo chambers that harden political divides. In fact, a study by Yale University found that exposure to politically extreme content on social media can make people more entrenched in their views, reducing the willingness to engage in civil discourse or consider opposing opinions. What does this mean for us as individuals? Well, it suggests that social media is not just amplifying outrage, but is also eroding our ability to find common ground or even engage with differing perspectives. And this isn't just happening in the US. Similar trends have been observed globally, from Brexit in the UK to political instability in countries like Brazil and India, where social media plays a massive role in shaping public opinion. As we've heard, these algorithms didn't start with malicious intent, but the design has consequences, ones we're only beginning to fully understand. So, what's the takeaway? We know that algorithms amplify content designed to keep us outraged, and while that might drive more engagement, it's also driving anxiety, stress, political polarization, and a distorted view of reality. Social media platforms have tremendous responsibility to address these harms. But it's a difficult problem. We need real collaboration, ethical experimentation, and perhaps a rethinking of how these platforms are designed in the first place, which raises challenges around holding companies accountable for negative societal impacts, like misinformation or addictive features, without over-regulating or undermining entrepreneurial freedom. If you enjoyed today's episode, you may want to check out the long-form Outrage Overload podcast. Visit outrageoverload.net for past episodes, links, and contact information.